Here comes part 4 of our, what is it going to be, 5-part comment review extravaganza. We're all the way up to Dominion. We're all the way up to the point where things start to break down a little bit. Things start to become a little bit less fun. That's just my opinion. Actually, in this video, we're going to be looking at your opinion. So with that out of the way, let's see what's going down with your opinion and what comments you posted up for me to check out. So let's get in. Michael Papp. Michael Papp's back. The Papp attack is here. I believe lore and data will ultimately become integrated. True. Their full name would be Data Lore Song. I mean, I had immediately assumed that if they had become integrated, their name would probably just revert back to Data. You know, just for the sake of simplicity. It kind of has. I do not want Riker to die. It could very well happen, though. I was fully on the Riker dead train. Not that I didn't want that, but I was just thinking it would happen. The writing was leaning towards it, and then at the last moment they said, no, he's not dying, which I appreciated. Thanks, Michael Papp. Undertaker. I'm confused. Question marks. In your Star Trek Picard with 2 C's. I like that. Reviews, you make reference to stuff called Star Trek? What's that? So are you saying there was a show prior to 2009, before Kurtzman Trek? I don't believe it. You're confusing me. There was. The historical documents. There was Star Trek before 2009. I know a lot of people came in 2009. I know a lot of people behind the camera as well came in 2009 and are still sneaking around and won't go away. But there was a Star Trek back in the day. And believe it or not, modern Star Trek does borrow elements from classic Trek. It does. And sometimes you end up with something good. Sometimes you end up with Klutzman Trek, as you just so aptly put it. It's fun to blame one person. It's enjoyable. The sweet delights of simple answers to the human brain, right? Actually, this is probably a simple answer to a complicated problem, a nebulous problem, if you will. It's probably a team of bad actors, we'll say, if you're willing to even accept that Kurtzman is a bad actor. I am. Maybe you're not. You obviously are not a fan. You're calling him Klutzman. Again, we can focus our anger on one person. It's enjoyable. But remember, the problem is actually a little bit more deeper ingrained than that. The seed that has grown into New Trek was planted a long time ago. And I'm saying that as someone who has enjoyed a few different bits of New Trek. I'm not a one-trick pony. I'm not just going to hate everything or love everything. You have to actually watch to see what I think. So thanks a lot, Undertaker. And yes, I do reference old Trek. I do, believe it or not. I am a part of old Trek. I'm in old Trek right now. Gary Walker 5000 for Dominion. What is Jack Crusher? Please, keep up the good work. Thank you. Well, by the end of the season, we learned what Jack Crusher was. Did anyone else kind of notice how much shade was thrown at Wesley this season? Did you notice how Jack has kind of been made the cooler son of Beverly? Wesley Cool Edition? That's Jack. And there was 2 moments in this season where Beverly literally said her son was gone. I lost my son. She said it twice, how Wesley was gone. And he never appeared in the season. He could have. There was kind of a way to work him in. I'm saying that as someone who doesn't completely hate Wesley. He's not the worst thing ever. Get over it. There's other things that are the worst thing ever for Star Trek, and Wesley is probably not in the top 10. But, I don't know, take it or leave it. It didn't really bother me that it wasn't in the final season, because he was in season 2, but whatever. Jack Crusher, he's just, he's our Wesley. Alright? I agree, real Tuvok is needed. I think Harry Kim is going to be first officer of the Voyager in Project Season 2. Hope so. This is from Michael Papp, by the way. Have you ever gotten this perception in your mind? It's kind of nasty, but did you ever think that a character's popularity kind of popularity with us, the viewers, affects the amount of screen time they get. Like logic would dictate that if a character's popular, you want to have them on the screen a lot, right? But that kind of breaks the reality of Star Trek. And I was just thinking, I mean, we know Seven is a very popular character. Seven's a great character. Seven's very popular. Is that why she's been in Picard since season 1? Like, did it make sense that she was not a part of Starfleet in Picard season 1? Like, if you were gonna have Voyager characters show up, like Harry Kim would be high up there, right? Because he's so deserving. Like, he needs to catch a break. Like, so I mean, it makes you think, right? It's kind of conspiratorial and it's kind of nasty, but characters' popularity does matter, and it looks stupid on our other Voyager characters who just get shunned. Particularly Harry Kim. We got to get some Kim going in season 2. I know me and Michael Papp agree here. And a real Tuvok was needed. If they just had Changeling Tuvok in the season, it would be horrible. It would be just a punch to the head for no reason. But they didn't. Thankfully, a real Tuvok comes back at the last second, which is much needed, much applauded. So Michael Papp, hopefully you were happy as I was with real Tuvok coming back. Thanks a lot. JoeCroninSHOW, 7 is the weakest. But I think the last 3 are going to blow our heads off, especially 9 and 10. Let's go. Well, I didn't really like 7. Dominion. I think, if I remember correctly, it's the one where, like, Jack and Sydney defeat changelings through some kind of weird mind meld through the air that they have. And it turns out you can beat a changeling slowly in turn-based combat by ducking and then rolling and punching, and it was just like, oh, it just made my skin crawl. Thanks a lot, JoeCroninSHOW. And 9 and 10, they were very exciting. The last 2 episodes were incredibly exciting, right? But that doesn't mean perfect or good, right? So maybe JoeCroninSHOW, maybe you love the last 2 episodes, and I'm happy for that. And you thought 7 was the weakest. Maybe not everyone agrees, but I'm kind of in agreement. I didn't really like 7. Michael Papp. My inference was that "your kind" comment refers to Vadic and her fellows who are mutated by Section 31. Yes. Originally, the face, the character that Vadic cut her hand off, and then that hand morphed into this face, which is some kind of a telekinetic subspace link or something. It was the Borg Queen, apparently, talking through this quote-unquote face, and it wasn't really explained that well. It was very scary. I thought it was a really cool way to do that. But I thought I was operating on the assumption that this face character was not a changeling. And he says, "your kind." And at that moment, I was thinking, is he talking about all changelings? But Michael Papp is right. The Borg Queen was probably referring to the mutated changelings, the alternate changelings who got in the season, for better or for worse. Thanks a lot. I think the intrigue around that face, for me, was not rewarded. For me, the mystery of what was going on with this face character was not what I wanted. I'll tell you, my original theory was that he was a changeling, but he was he was a different evolved changeling that was different than the changelings we knew. He was more evolved somehow. And Vadic actually was not a changeling originally. Vadic was a human who was being kept alive by the face, because just like her hand was a piece of a changeling, vital organs in her body were also changelings, morphing into the organs to keep her body running, so that way the face could make her do what ever the face wanted, right? Like, it's kind of like he had her life in his hands, literally. I thought that would have been really cool, because I was thinking, as soon as I saw the hand come off, I was like, the hand came off. What if other organs are changelings doing the job of the organs? and she has to do the bidding for this face, who is another kind of changeling on top of the other ones. And I was thinking, whoa, is this whole hierarchy of new changelings? And I was like, wow, this is cool. But it didn't go that way. It was the Borg. So maybe my theory is cool, maybe it's not, I don't know. It wasn't a theory. It's not a theory now because it was wrong. It's just kind of an idea. Amanda Plummer is killing it in this role. Yes. I mean, if you watch my reviews, you'd know I was totally on board with this character. It just didn't stick the landing. Near the end, the way they just killed Vadic. If you were going to just kill Vadic, you would have did it in like episode 5. But we just kind of gracelessly kill Vadic in like episode 8 or something. See, the amount of time you spend with the character, you need more of a payoff, right? And we didn't get the right payoff for Vadic. We didn't get the right punch for Vadic. It was satisfying killing her. Well, no, it was satisfying seeing it as the audience. I would not have done it if I were them. But yeah, Plummer's good in it. Plummer saves an otherwise bland character, honestly. She wasn't dumb, she was desperate. Yes, that's what I felt too. Yeah, what you were saying, I believe what you were talking about here was the fact that she used the shuttle to go to the Titan instead of transporting. But we know now that the transporter was altering people's DNA, and there was some kind of question around what the transporter was doing. So I wonder now, looking back, if Vadic didn't want to get her DNA changed either or something. Maybe the process is automatic, I don't know. But that episode's premise of Vadic getting onto the Titan, it relied on Vadic entering the Titan at a certain point. Vadic could have got the drop on them, but at the same time, the way Amanda Plummer is playing the role, you can see the desperation. You can see how she's fallible. She can make mistakes, and she looks weak in some moments, which is very good. It's very well presented in that way. So yes, looking back, I'm willing to look at it like this is a moment of desperation, and we're on the clock. Frontier Day. This has to be done before Frontier Day. So yeah, maybe. As for the second part of this comment, I'm going to look it up here in a moment. Yeah, basically what I was doing in that review is I was giving them the benefit of the doubt that Vadic could be making a mistake in that moment. You could say it was dumb. You could say it was interesting. I gave it the benefit of the doubt, and it appears you did here too. So thanks a lot, Michael Papp. And then Michael Papp is saying they tossed the portal weapon a few episodes ago. Yeah, I must have missed that. Maybe I'm blind, but at a certain point in this season, I was wondering, why don't they use the portal weapon? I was like, wait a minute, where's the portal weapon? And according to Michael Papp here, they tossed the portal weapon a few episodes ago. I'm not sure why or where. I'm gonna have to go look at it a little bit harder to see if you could see it happen. But if I missed it, that's probably a good indicator that maybe it should have been written in with a little more emphasis. Just as a guess. If Shaw dies, Star Trek is ruined forever. Well, it kind of almost ruined this season. He dies later. They did the unthinkable. They killed Shaw, and then 10 seconds later, we're on the bridge of the Galaxy-class Enterprise. And miraculously, I felt nothing. You killed Shaw, and then, oh look, here's the Enterprise. And I was just completely just like, whoa. You can't win me over with that. You know why they did it. They kill Shaw, and then say, oh, it's not all bad, don't worry. Here's the Enterprise. And it's just something just like kind of just conceited and cynical and vile about that. I couldn't enjoy the Enterprise when it showed up. Imagine Imagine making me not be able to kind of enjoy the Galaxy class again. On repeat viewings, I was able to separate the two, but on my first viewing, I was just like, I was watching our classic Star Trek characters from TNG on the Galaxy class Enterprise bridge, and I'm supposed to be totally swept off my feet by this, and I'm just thinking about Shaw, and I'm thinking about, this was so stupid. We said, oh, we need to go down to the maintenance deck. Let's announce it ship-wide over the intercom. Let's go down there. And then he gets shot by a few random security officers or what have you, who are like at least partially Borgified. Wonderful. And then heroically he just tells, oh no, you go on, you go blah, blah, blah. You know, the kind of death that just feels like the writers wanted to kill someone, they had to come up with something. The character who stays behind, the character who like is the one who dies over this group and then has the last moment dramatic passing of the torch. Like, it's so obvious. It's not the worst one ever. The worst one of those ever I saw, I think, was that time in Star Trek Discovery, I think season 2, where Admiral Cornwell, I think that's her name, had to stay behind with the torpedo in that room as it exploded, while Chris Pike looks through the window of the door at the torpedo as it's exploding, and it's like fine. Like, it's the Discovery season 2. You classic. I think the syndrome has to do with the Borg somehow. Well, it was the Borg. Sorry to, retroactively burst your bubble, which doesn't make sense because you can't burst it now because it's after the fact. I thought it was great how they tricked us with the Voyager theme. I was so scandalized. I felt betrayed as well. It was good. I felt like Seven must have. Yeah. You tricked me with the Voyager theme, and I was like, ooh. Oh, I just want to freaking punch somebody. But we got Tuvok. We got Tuvok back at the end. And I don't know. I can't be too mad. They did give us Tuvok, but they tricked us with the Voyager theme. Naughty. Thanks, Michael Papp. Kyler Storm, okay? The entire episode was a contrivance to get Vadic, Picard, and Beverly in the same room so she could do the dialogue dump. Yeah, I never enjoy exposition dumps, dialogue dumps. You know, where you're writing a show and we've built up so much mystery because of stupid mystery box stuff that we have to reveal it in a page-long dialogue where a character just reveals the plot to us. It's so like, I don't know, it's just so childish, it's so contrived, it's so obvious. Here's the point where we need to reveal the plot. Who's going to be the one to do it? Me. And then I just read off the script. Okay, this happened, here's why this happened. Okay, sprinkle in a little bit more mystery. Okay, there you go, bye. Wham bam, thank you ma'am, say no more. The entire episode was a contrivance, yes, to get Vadic, Picard, and Beverly in the same room. They ended up doing so. So she could do the dialogue dump. I'm not an Amanda Plummer lover, but I will say she made the scene pretty decent. Without her delivering it, it would have been nothing but mind-numbing exposition. I think that for a lot of Vadic stuff in the season, without Amanda Plummer, it would have been horrible. These kind of episodes are painful, but they seem to be quite common for late-season, heavily serialized weekly shows. Yes, that's right. I don't think it will be as bad on repeat viewing, but watching the show on a weekly drip just leaves you bad blue balls. Yeah, well, I mean, blame, what was that show, Alias? Go back and look at the show Alias, if you remember that. It was just constantly, we're going to solve the mystery. Oh, we're going to solve it. Oh, wait, no, we're not. And then they just put it off to the next one. Then they just string you along. You know, it's a real page turner, right? That's not exactly a compliment. I've read a lot of books before where they magically seem to end every chapter with a little question that makes you have to read the next one. And to me, it just kind of seems like, I don't know, you're operating a casino here. You're designing this to be addicting, and your prose is not necessarily beautiful. It's more like cola, or it's more like a cigarette. You know, something addicting like that. And no, I'm not a fan of these serialized type shows anymore. I was willing to give it a chance, but they're making it hard for me to enjoy it. Even when the good seasons that use this have to fall back on these age-old tropes of dialogue dump, mystery box. If you're doing it with characters we know, characters we've seen before, ultimately a mystery box plot makes them look stupid. Right? Because you know that you can remember back when this crew could solve much more complex problems in one episode, right? So what happens is you have to have characters who are either intentionally stupid, or you have to have characters who are intentionally mysterious and dramatic to a cartoonish degree. That being like Vatic. Remember in the first episode of the season, we had to learn about the Red Lady. There was this whole plot line where we had to get breadcrumbs to figure out what was going to happen, when in TNG, we would have figured out what was going to happen in one episode and then solved it, and then wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Mystery box stuff, leading on, breadcrumbs. Thank you, Kyler Storm. I get what you're saying. Kevin Tipcorn. Kevin Tipcorn and I don't care. Evil transporter techs infiltrating the Federation. Tuvok is being kept alive by changelings put in cruel circumstances. The Data family has been put in a blender and poured into the body of one old man. The big bad is only represented as an energy pattern. The electronic soul transporter pattern somehow freed of Tuvik's is out of... the electronic soul transporter pattern somehow freed of Tuvik's is out for revenge on Starfleet. Imagine, wouldn't it be awesome if Tuvix was the face, and he's doing all this just to get back at Janeway? For those of you who know Voyager lore, one of my favorite Voyager characters, Tuvix, classic. If only that would be a real deep cut. That one's for the real fans. We got the conspiracy bugs, we got Tuvix, we got Future Man, you name it. We got all the strange characters that appeared here and there and just kind of lived in our heads rent-free. Thanks a lot, Kevin Tipcorn. Undertaker for the same episode. No benefits of the doubt. Not one, after all this shit. Not one. I can see where you're coming from. As someone who has watched Picard Season 1 and Season 2. But, all the staff behind this show is not the same. Me giving Vatic the benefit of the doubt. Vatic is a new character, played by a new person, who I like their performance. That's just me. If this had been the end of Season 2 of Picard, I wasn't willing to give it the time of day. Go back and watch my Season 2 reviews. I don't think I did Season 1 reviews for this channel at that point, but check out my Season 2 reviews. By the end of it, I was just I was in a state. If you feel like being mad, check that out. But thanks, Undertaker. I understand how someone would not be okay with giving any benefit of the doubt to Picard after first two seasons. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. Well, that's Season 3, I guess. Especially with the last 2 episodes. Cool hand. Klingon who does not show his face in battle has no honor. Worf, son of Moog probably, should be, has fallen. Also executing POWs. Executing POWs. Pow pow! Is a war crime. Danny with new mental powers at Star Trek II Wrath of Khan referenced with an airlock in the view screen. Can't tell the mountain of stupid that was. Then I remembered that they have no engineering room. I know! You never got to go to engineering in this season. On board, expect Shaw. Star Trek 3 reference of the Klingons executing Kirk's son. That kind of didn't happen. A computer that is so useless that it can't tell you where the crew or guests on board are scanned for life signs. Like an NX class computer core, but that's what I think. Yeah, this is kind of a smorgasbord post. It's just kind of like, it's one of those posts that's not really about this episode. It's just kind of like here's what I feel about this show going forward. I was upset a little bit with what Worf was doing. Go back and look at my reviews for when Worf showed up. He was executing people from behind. He was killing people who otherwise could not defend themselves. Concealing his identity. It just kind of just didn't really feel like Worf at first, but I kind of came around on it. Danny, that he probably meant Deanna with new mental powers. Yes, Deanna's powers seem to have gotten more powerful. Deanna seems to have like a low-grade telepathy now. She always kind of did with Riker, if you remember back to the very beginning of TNG. Star Trek 2, I mean, the first 4 episodes is just Star Trek 2, to be honest. And I'm fine with that after Season 1 and Season 2, which was one big reference to nothing. Season 1 and 2 was a reference to sleep. It's a reference to falling asleep. View screen, can't tell the mountain of stupid. No engineering room. Big mistake here, buddy. You know me. I'm in engineering right now. I take it very seriously. Main engineering, that's like the bridge to me, and we didn't get it on the Titan. Give me a break. Although you'll note that this season feels on the cheap side. Feels like they were running out of money with this one. If you really look, some of the set design here. Expect Shaw, Star Trek 3 reference. No engineer on board except Shaw, I think is what you're saying. Shaw was an engineer. That's good. At least you're paying lip service to the idea. The Star Trek 3 reference of the Klingons executing Kirk's son. I think the Klingons in this case would be the Changelings. And they didn't kill Jack. A computer that is useless. It can't tell you where the crew or guests. Yeah, remember, like I said many times, Jack had the run of this ship for a while. Jack was just freewheeling for a lot, and they couldn't really get things under control. Security on the Titan left something to be desired. So I see everything you're saying, Cool Hand. Thanks a lot for your input. I'm Not a Nugget Placard is back. Dude, you need to live stream the next 2 episode reactions. I want a live commentary with you. I wish I could, but I can't stream anything out. It's very hard for me. This video is pre-recorded and it's going to take forever to upload. I don't know. I may be able to find some workaround solution, so we'll put a pin on that. I know what this was about. Fire Everything from Star Trek 2009. Feels, pew pew, Windows, new Trek, so much better and different from just new Trek. Yeah, I didn't like when they freaking shot. They killed Vatic and then shot on the Shrike. Guys, take the Shrike. Like, tractor beam that thing, hold it there, get another ship coming. Oh, we found this one other ship who could help us. Oh, it's the U.S.S. whatever. They're willing to help us. They're not Changeling controlled. We're gonna tow the Shrike out of here. We're gonna take that Shrike ship apart piece by piece. We're gonna learn everything we can. We're gonna take whatever we can. It's a powerful ship. No, 7 is just like fire. Like this is a cartoon. Except we've had a few good Star Trek cartoons that were good, which is quite a statement to make. Immediate mistake to destroy the Shrike like that. I knew it the second I saw it. I was like, this is dumb. So you're right on that. Isn't Troy an empath? Maybe she slept with Changeling because she wanted to? And Worf just for the hell of it. At the last breath of TNG, that bizarre Worf-Troy relationship thing that I just don't want to think about too much. It was just like, wow, that should have been we shouldn't have been able to see that. But isn't Troy an empath? You're saying she could, she knew the Changeling would be a Changeling and left him anyway. Well, maybe because she was a Changeling, she didn't, and she lied to Riker just to piss him off. Old married couples. They kind of joke at each other, make a little jab here and there. So you can give Troy the benefit of the doubt. I know you don't want to give this the benefit of the doubt, and say maybe she was lying to Riker. If she wasn't, then that's kind of spooky. Thanks a lot, Undertaker. What? Whoa. What's this? I can, say I can say welcome aboard. What the hell? Why is YouTube giving me like canned responses? I don't know. I'm happy I found this channel. Glad to hear someone talk about the story instead of just nitpicking, complaining, and gushing about how perfect everything is. I subscribed. Yeah, I make a serious attempt here to be materially different than most Star Trek channels. You'll find that being hyperbolic sells on YouTube. What that means is you either love everything or you hate everything. And you pay attention to the details when it suits you, and you ignore the details when it suits you. So you should always watch for that. I don't plan on doing that. I plan on having a foot in both oceans, that being the ocean of logic and the ocean of emotion. How does it make you feel? Why does it work? Why doesn't it work? Not everything is hunky-dory all the time. So I'm glad Mic Drop has subscribed, and I'm going to keep trying to not really look at anyone else's reviews and just try to be honest about things. Sometimes a nitpick is a nitpick, and sometimes a nitpick matters, and the devil's in the details with how you determine which one matters and which one doesn't. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot, Mic Drop. Michael Papp, 100% agree. Mini arcs are the way to go. I hear Discovery is going to be doing that next season as well. Well, too little too late maybe for Discovery. Although there's 5 seasons, there's nothing to sneeze at. I will say that. So I will be watching Discovery Season 5. I found that Discovery kind of finally found its groove, kind of, with Season 4. Even though Season 4, it's got some problems. Mini arcs are cool. I liked it ever since it was in the 4th season of Enterprise. So I like getting a payoff here and there, you know? If you want to do a serialized story with a mystery box style thing, you got to give me arcs that complete themselves. The Writing System arc, perfect. Masterclass in how to do this. We're in, we're out, satisfying conclusion. We're going to pay off exactly what we need to get to the next arc. There you go. I mean, from there, it wasn't as strong, I don't think, but you get my point. I thought it was wild how Vadic said they were taking the captain's seat because it was cozy. Probably why Shaw chose it, to be honest. The fact they considered comfort important lends credence to my supposition these ultra changelings are solids for all intents and purposes when not a moving flesh goo. If the muscles weren't real, why consider coziness? It could be that they said cozy just as a joke. Like Vadic, you know, is larger than life character, has a tendency to chew the scenery. Maybe she didn't really think it was cozy, and she said that just because she knew the solids that were listening were going to be annoyed by that, right? So, but what you're saying could be perfectly true, because the nature of these changelings was not perfectly on display, nor should anything be always perfectly explained. A little bit of mystery is good. But what you're saying sounds totally accurate to me, unless Vadic was just being funny, which I wouldn't put it past her. Similar to how the Diviner kept us unwanted from communicating by not allowing translators. I wonder if any of the aliens ever had the opportunity to teach their language to another, or do you think the robot guards would have prevented such a thing? I'm going to have to look up what that is. So what I think you were saying here was that Vadic was talking about, I've taken your communications, your floor, your doors, whatever. I've stripped you of your ability to communicate, which means you cannot work together. Good idea for how you maintain order amongst your people that you have captive. Similar how the Diviner wanted to keep his unwanted from communicating. That being his slaves on Tars Lamora. I wonder if any of the aliens had the opportunity to teach their language to one another, or do you think the robot guards would have prevented such a thing? Yeah, I think robot guards would be highly attuned to the sound of prisoners trying to talk to each other. I think talking to each other would be something that would be on the down low, and if you have to keep it on the down low and only do it at opportune moments, that makes it very hard to teach a language to somebody. Although languages can spread deviously simply, which is to say, the simplicity at which language transfers from one to another has a lower skill ceiling than one might expect. I don't think getting across language between those prisoners was something that was really going on. It didn't really feel like that to me. It felt like, because like the relief of allowing universal translation when the protostar came up would have like flown in the face of the language they were teaching each other. Like they're still gonna clash there. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's kind of weird to see like a Prodigy question embedded in here. But I do love Prodigy, so thanks, Michael Papp. I mean, generally, the idea is you don't allow prisoners to communicate with each other. That's the number one thing. If you're a bad guy, you don't want your enemies communicating, because then they form plans. And then they start to think about, oh, how can we get out of here? How can we best our person who's keeping us captive? You know, how can we beat them? How can we get under their skin? You don't want that. That's a pretty hard topic to broach. Not to mention, Beverly thought JC Jr. was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. If LaForge hadn't corroborated the story, that conversation would have went down way different. Yeah, Beverly kind of thought Jack Crusher was losing his mind, or if he was crazy. But then this whole thing about Jack, I can control people's minds. Okay, Jack, well, that sounds kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But then LaForge kind of says, well, listen, we discovered all this stuff about their secret plan. And, look, it looks like you really can communicate through people's minds, right? Sydney was able to communicate telepathically with Jack, and then she was able to fight that changeling in that way. Very kind of silly. I didn't really love it. It would have been cooler if Jack said, listen, there's a panel right behind you where if you rip it off and press this button, it'll blow this corridor to space, and if you grab onto this thing here, you might make it and you'll kill the changeling. Something a little bit more exciting like that would have been cooler, but that's a topic for a different video. That was part of my review for the previous episode before this. Sydney LaForge corroborated the story. If she wasn't there, it would have went down way different, correct? But this episode, it feels like Sydney's whole job is to stand there and just say that one thing. Like it was, I remember in my review saying it just kind of came off as not written that perfect. Like maybe we needed a few more passes on that. It was just a little bit awkward, that's all. Not a problem, just a little something that was weird. Just Sydney just standing there and just after a while going, oh, yeah, he did talk to my brain. He did talk exactly into my brain. He touched my hand when I said I should have my hand touched by Jack. Michael Papp, again. I'm pretty sure Vadic can't turn into anything other than humanoid any longer, besides goop. We've never seen any of Vadic's ilk do anything other than people, though the clothes do change with them. Now I'm not sure about that point. We're questioning our own comment here. It could be that clothes go hand in hand with mimicking solids, so when you get good at solids, you get good at clothes as well. It could be that the clothes change, but not always. It could have been that off screen there was changelings who actually had to bring their own clothes. The changelings, again, I mean, I rest my case on this. The major point of contention about this season, other than the Borg and what happened with Shaw and the Enterprise, yada, 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 is going to be the nature of these changelings. It's going to be the point where people are kind of like coming up against a wall, like what was going on. We needed like an episode here. We needed one of these episodes removed and replaced with an episode dedicated to the history of Vedic without feeling contrived. Like, I was hoping for an episode that was told completely in the past, at the origin point of Vadic. A whole episode just about that, to explain exactly what was going on here. It left a little bit to be desired, but that's one of the lesser points in this season, because we just kind of killed Vadic and it doesn't matter. But we should have killed Vadic in like episode 5, had a whole flashback episode, and then had it not be the Borg, and this would have been the best season ever. Maybe you're right though. Maybe Vadic can't turn anything other than goop and Vadic. Right? I mean, she even mimicked the hair. Right? She turned into Vadic and then gave herself this strange haircut that I burst out laughing as soon as I saw it. She got the haircut right from day one when she transformed the first time, when she broke out of that test tube. And then she kept mimicking the hair. Like, why? Like, it's interesting. But it was just, it would have been, not as, it would have been, a little bit better if when she transformed into Vadic the first time, she looked exactly like that scientist. Right? But, it was a laugh out loud moment for me, which is worth something. The first transformation of Vadic. Vadic did catch JC Jr.'s efforts to input Picard's code. True. Stopped him before he could hit the enter button. It wasn't until a certain pissed off positronic AI got invoked that Vadic lost control of the Titan. Exactly. You see, Data, positronic AI, was in control of Daystrom Station and did a mighty fine job somehow until Worf and Riker and co. showed up with some device they got on Metalis, and then that was the end of that. But his AI shenanigans would continue on in the mind of the Titan, and once he got control, boy, nothing Vadic could do. That's Data's job in this season, is to be AI security guard for some reason. Is that a promotion? I don't know, but it was certainly Data's day. We can leave it at that. Thanks, Data. Thanks, Spot. Most of all, thanks, Spot. Oh, absolutely. If Odo had been there, no one would be awake at the moment. I know. Classic changeling Odo. If Odo was anywhere in this show, it would be very different. It would be a different time we'd be having. Odo would transform into a flying anvil moving at 300 miles per hour, which would absolutely tear Vadic to pieces in a split second before anyone could see what would happen. Maybe that's a very extreme example, but you get my point. For those who have seen Deep Space Nine. Section 31 scientists didn't care about keeping the changelings strong. They only cared about making them better spies. Their durability, their lifespan, their lack of pain was not a priority even in the slightest. In fact, if something can feel pain, they can be controlled. I wouldn't be surprised if this weakness wasn't forced on them in order to keep them in line somehow. Good idea. That's what I would do if I were conniving, nasty, evil Section 31, who shouldn't exist. Who should have been gone a long time ago. I hope that stupid Section 31 movie that they're working on now, you know what I hope that's about? I hope that's about them stopping Section 31 forever, somehow. And they time travel to the future and kill Section 31 in the future and in the past, so it double uncanonizes them. That was spoken a little bit off the cuff, but you get the point. I hate Section 31. I don't want to tolerate them anymore. Why are we doing this? This season gets away with it too, because Section 31 is not defeated by the end. We just allow them to keep operating. Oh well. A freaking mace went through Odo's head in the first episode. Yeah. You used to be able to just throw things at Odo, and he would just go whoop and just open up and it would just go through him like nothing, because he was so good at being a changeling, even though his powers pale in comparison to those who were still a part of the Great Link. Spoilers maybe for Deep Space Nine, but go watch it, okay? Apparently Tavine was a quarter Deltan. Is that why she was bald? Which is why she was bald. Very cool. Such a backstory and thought was put into her character. Yeah, shame she died. Quarter Deltan. I wonder, was she psychologically irresistible to other crew members, whatever that means. If you watch Star Trek the Motion Picture and you read the secondary material that went along with it, like the novelization that I did, you will know that Deltans are they have like a pheromone, like a psychic pheromone type combo aura around them that makes them drive people crazy sexually or something like that. Some kind of a thing like that, I don't know. But with her character and the character of Deckard in the motion picture, Think of that, and then think of the first episode of TNG. You have Troy and Riker. Did you notice this? Will Riker, and I think Decker's first name was Will. They just kind of did the same thing again. It's like this was going to be a part of Star Trek Phase 2. That got morphed in the motion picture. But they wanted to continue it for TNG. So it's, in a weird way, Deltans are kind of like continuation into Betazoids, I guess. It's just kind of a weird headcanon thing I have. But and it's not an on-screen thing. It's like a making of type thing. It's just kind of one of those things. Plus, we saw visions of Jack killing her. So it seems like that could have been foreshadowing her actual death. I was quite shocked when Vadic killed Tavi instead. What a tense scene. Very well done. I did not see it coming. We saw a vision of Jack killing Esmar at the beginning of this episode. And then, whoop. Nope, we killed Tavine. So, well played, guys. Well played. And we're in agreement with Michael Papp here. If Shaw dies, Star Trek as a franchise is ruined forever. It's hard to read. I think this was the last vestige of that fight between the two of them. When Shaw let Seven do the honors of blowing the hell out of the Shrike, that showed he accepted her as her, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah, like, you're right, but I mean, to me, it just felt like it went on way too long. It felt like a good conclusion was in the writing system that they had, and they just ignored it. But also, allowing her to blow up the Shrike is like, I don't know. Does that sound very Starfleet to you? I accept you as a person now. Here's your reward. Blow up that ship. Now, how about Seven? You lead the landing party to go on the Shrike. We're going to clean it up. Ding. There you go. I actually don't agree with you. Janeway was Seven's human mentor. Janeway sure wouldn't trade lives. I don't think Seven would have either. Well, unfortunately, I just saw the first 2 seasons of Picard, and they kind of... Was there not a scene with Seven in season 1 just gunning down the Jazel, I think her name was? That kind of made Seven look a little bit unhinged, and then... I don't want to think about that too hard. But, Janeway wouldn't trade lives. I don't think Seven would have either. It's just kind of like one of those things where... I mean, the question was... Should Seven have blown the turbo lift to trade Shaw and that changeling's life for the crew? Do you believe in a no-win scenario? It's one of those things. You know, it's one of those no good answers. There's only multiple bad ones. So yeah, Seven could choose not to trade lives in that moment, and you could make the moral case for it later, right? But you know, so I gave it a thumbs up just because you were thinking about it, Michael Papp. Spot for president, that's right. Let's go Spot. It's an emergency exit, not meant to be open in space. Presumably if the saucer section crashed, then it could be easier to get people out by using the hatch. In my headcanon, this was designed after the D went down. Maybe. We're discussing here, why can the bridge blow out its front section like that? And I was just like, I don't know. You can do an emergency blowout of the entire bridge into space like that. You know. But wouldn't it be better to have the floor of the bridge open up and you go down into like a subfloor that leads to an exit way on the outside of the saucer, the surface of the saucer, with a panel that blows there, and you get out that way, or something. I don't know. Or maybe you can actually detach the entire bridge section, something like that, kind of like an escape pod, but for the bridge. There's an idea. Maybe you can have a ship where the bridge actually detaches like its own life pod, and it can fly away. and can actually deorbit itself and land. There's an idea. But it is kind of spooky to me that's possible. I sure hope it doesn't have a failure. I sure hope one of those latches doesn't fail or something. Thanks a lot, Michael Papp, for the input on the emergency exit on the bridge that ends up killing Vadic. For better or for worse. The portal weapon was lost in the nebula. I honestly figured they would leave the Shrike for Starfleet to collect. I guess not. No skin off my back. I hated that ship. I hated it too. I didn't like the Shrike at all. My wife loved it though. Haha, she went, ah, boo, when it went up. Yeah, it blew up. Explode. Ah, boo. Ah, boo. It blew up. They blew it up. Fire everything. They should have left it. We should have captured the Shrike and took it, every single piece of it apart, and figured out how everything worked exactly. And, and I hate it. I hate the Shrike. I hate it. It's ugly. All the more reason to dismantle it. There could have been clues on the Shrike. I know, it was a TV move to blow it up. I know. We had to get the pew-pew in, though. It was a joke, as all. Worf was needling Riker without appearing to do so. I'm sure the flattery Worf waxed poetically was as sincere to Troy as it was sarcastic to Riker. Yeah, when Worf does that, he doesn't. If Worf waxes poetic, he means it totally in earnest. Like, he doesn't really have these ulterior motives for things, I know that. The sentiments expressed weren't strictly romantic. That was the sarcasm. The sincerity was how Troy's wisdom helped him through this own personal journey. True. That was my inference anyway. Similarly for Troy sleeping with the changeling, she was just poking fun at her hubby. We're gonna hope so. Me and Michael Papp, we're gonna hope so that this is true. We're just gonna hope that this is true. Plus, they spent whole minutes shitting on the episode Nepenthe by complaining about their living situation entirely. And the burnt tomato! Shitting on the burnt tomato! What happened? It's nothing. Burnt tomato! Burnt tomato. Riker's new name is Burnt Tomato. It was as though the characters themselves were secretly hating Season 1 too. Look really close. I think there's a lot of things in this season that are secretly throwing shade at the first two seasons. I don't know. Call me conspiratorial. Although their daughters seemed to like it on Nepenthe. I wonder, did they consider that? That's one thing I noticed. They were complaining about Nepenthe as if they didn't have... What's her name? Kestra, I think her name was. She seemed to like it. We'll leave. You can stay. You're 10 years old now. You can stay. I don't know how long. I don't remember how old she was. But I remember she was like one of the very few fun things in that season. Just the fun of some person living on this planet who was like a kid and was like still like mentally alive and not totally cynical and fried. Just a shining light in that entire season of insanity. Call me crazy. They used Worf's personal shuttle instead of the La Serena because it had a Klingon cloaking device on it. That's my best guess. That's a really good guess. But we shouldn't really have to guess on that type of thing. You don't want to have to guess on ship things in Star Trek. That's just my opinion, though. I cried at that scene, no shame. I didn't get too emotional when LaForge was begging Data for help for whatever reason. It was beautifully acted by LeVar Burton. I definitely teared up when he and Data... yes. Oh, the end of this episode, though, with Data, like, reconnecting with Geordi. Like, the real friendship. Not like some fake thing that we invented a second ago to make it feel dramatic. The real drama between two actual friends who we saw grow closer together for years on TNG, and the payoff here was fantastic. I don't think I cried, but I did love it. Jesus, I've commented a lot this time. Well, I don't seem to mind. I think a standard changeling would be able to survive being frozen and shattered. Changelings have survived a lot of stuff. I do not believe that it could. Even if I am wrong, the explosion of the Shrike would likely have vaporized their bits. I'm willing to believe Vadic is dead forever. I'm willing to accept that. I think this is about the Borg. How crazy would it be if Jack gets, for lack of a better term, possessed by the remnants of Locutus and faces off against Picard until his human body blew up? I was hoping to see a revived Picard Locutus. Maybe now the Borg will terrorize his son. Bev did say the nanites were rewriting his DNA in the Best of Both Worlds too. Yeah. Remember that line? That the DNA could be rewritten by the Borg, and then they bring it up now, like in episode 9, and it's like, it makes it sound like it's a new thing. They're rewriting his DNA like it's something that never happened before. Kind of a unusual to kind of like fly in the face of Best of Both Worlds like that in kind of like a strange way, but yet reference Best of Both Worlds all the time. Like, it was a little bit strange. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I believe in Best of Both Worlds they were talking about how they could rewrite DNA, and then now it seems they could bring a new thing. Maybe I'm just reading into it the wrong way. And the last comment for the episode Surrender, episode 8. Be miserable or motivate yourself. Whatever has to be done. It's always your choice. Wayne Dyer. What a fantastic way to end this episode, boy. Beautiful. Thanks a lot. Make 756 per day. A nice quote. Be miserable or motivate yourself. I'm leaving that up to you. People watching this, be miserable or motivate yourself. Pick one. You can't pick both. So I'm Lieutenant Mark, and I'm going to see you when next I see you. So long for now.